Imagine this. What if the Antichrist were already here, walking among us? What if the signs of his arrival were hidden in plain sight, coded in ancient texts, veiled in historical events, and whispered through the corridors of conspiracy? For centuries, humanity has been haunted by this figure, an entity prophesied to deceive, to rule, and ultimately to bring chaos. Could it be that this prophecy is unfolding before our very eyes? Today, we dive deep into one of the most enduring mysteries of human history. Together, we will explore ancient scriptures, historical accusations, and modern theories that stretch the imagination. Whether you're a skeptic, a believer, or simply curious, stay with me until the end. You might just uncover a truth you never expected. The concept of the Antichrist is rooted in the Bible, a figure whose arrival marks a confrontation between ultimate good and absolute evil. The term itself appears predominantly in the epistles of John. Dear children, this is the last hour. And as you have heard that the Antichrist is coming, even now many Antichrists have come. 1 John 2:18. But what does Antichrist really mean? The term carries dual implications. Against Christ, signifying outright opposition, and in place of Christ, suggesting a false savior. This second meaning is perhaps the most chilling in entity, so deceptive, so persuasive, that even the faithful might falter. The book of Revelation paints an apocalyptic vision where the Antichrist leads the forces of darkness in a climactic battle against divine armies. 4 horsemen unleash war, famine, and plague. Angels sound trumpets heralding destruction. Yet, at the center of this cosmic chaos is a figure part prophet, part tyrant, who claims dominion over humanity. Who is this figure? Could the Antichrist be a singular individual? Or is it a system, a power, or an ideology? This ambiguity has left the door open for countless interpretations across centuries. Throughout history, accusations of being the Antichrist have fallen upon some of the most infamous and influential figures. Take Emperor Nero, for instance. Early Christians, persecuted under his reign, believed he embodied the beast described in Revelation. They pointed to the infamous number of the beast, 666, which some scholars link to Nero's name when calculated in Hebrew numerology. Later, during the Reformation, figures like Martin Luther and John Calvin denounced the papacy itself as the Antichrist. They saw the union of political power and religious authority as the ultimate corruption of Christ's teachings. Fast forward to modern times, Adolf Hitler, with his genocidal reign, was labeled by many as an Antichrist figure. Napoleon Bonaparte, whose ambition reshaped Europe, was also accused. More recently, leaders like Stalin and even U.S. presidents have found themselves thrust into this sinister role in the public imagination. But it's not just political leaders. Sergei Torop, a Siberian man claiming to be the reincarnation of Jesus, leads a cult that eerily mirrors apocalyptic warnings. Similarly, Jim Jones, who orchestrated the mass suicide in Jonestown, exemplified how false messiahs manipulate and destroy. Each of these figures fits parts of the Antichrist archetype, but none entirely. So, we must ask, is the true Antichrist yet to come? One of the most debated symbols is the number 666. Many associate it with evil, yet its interpretation varies. In Hebrew, letters have numerical values, and the letters for 666 spell Vav Vav Vav, which some equate to W, a modern reference to the internet. Could the Antichrist wield digital power, controlling humanity through technology? Another enduring symbol is the mark of the beast, prophesied as something placed on the hand or forehead, enabling commerce. In an age of microchips and biometric system, this concept no longer feels far-fetched. Imagine a world where access to basic needs is controlled by a single, centralized system. How far are we from this reality? Modern theories also link global events wars, pandemics, and economic crises to the Antichrist's influence. Each catastrophe, they argue, brings us closer to a world desperate for salvation, ripe for deception. Today's world is interconnected in ways ancient prophets could never have imagined. Artificial intelligence, for example, is no longer science fiction. Neural implants like Elon Musk's Neuralink promise to merge human minds with machines? Could such advancements pave the way for an Antichrist who controls not just actions, but thoughts? Consider the power of surveillance. With satellites blanketing the globe and algorithms predicting our every move, could a future leader exploit this infrastructure to create a totalitarian regime? In China, for instance, cashless transactions and social credit systems already hint at this possibility. What happens when this technology becomes universal? And then there's the allure of convenience. A phone that works anywhere, a chip that simplifies life. Who wouldn't embrace such innovation? Yet, history warns us, the greatest deceptions often come wrapped in promises of progress. Not all agree on what the Antichrist represents. In Catholic tradition, some view the Antichrist as a future pope who betrays the Church. Protestants often see him as a figure linked to Rome, reflecting their historical tensions with Catholicism. Islamic eschatology introduces al-Masih as Dajjal, a deceiver who claims divine status. Meanwhile, Jewish traditions await a false Messiah who will lead many astray before the true Messiah arrives. Despite these differences, a common thread emerges. The Antichrist is a master manipulator, exploiting faith and fear alike. As we survey the world today, escalating conflicts, environmental collapse, and the rise of authoritarianism, it's tempting to draw parallels with apocalyptic prophecies. But is this confirmation bias? Or are we truly witnessing the beginning of the end? Even skeptics admit that humanity is at a crossroads. Whether driven by greed, technology, or ideology, the forces shaping our world feel increasingly beyond our control. Could these be the birth pains of a new era, or the final chapter of an old one? In recent years, the figure of the Antichrist has not only remained a theological and philosophical puzzle, but has also sparked a resurgence in popular media and academic discussions. Documentaries like The Family on Netflix explore how political and religious elites might manipulate faith for global control. Could these power structures be paving the way for a modern Antichrist? Similarly, investigative works like The Devil's Advocate, a journey into eschatology, delve into the digital era's role in reshaping the prophecy. One particularly chilling theory suggests that artificial intelligence might not just assist the Antichrist, but become a host for his essence. Imagine a global AI network uniting billions under the guise of progress, wielding absolute control over communication, commerce, and even thought. From books like The Rise of the New Global Order to interviews with theologians and futurists, a common thread emerges. The Antichrist might no longer fit the mold of a charismatic dictator, but instead embody a system of technology, surveillance, and dependency. Could the beast prophesied in Revelation be more than a man, perhaps a machine, a corporation, or an ideology? The roots of the Antichrist narrative run deep, intertwining with ancient history and archaeology. One intriguing discovery comes from the ruins of Babylon, a city often associated with apocalyptic imagery. Inscriptions reveal how rulers like Nebuchadnezzar II declared themselves divine, blurring the line between kingship and godhood. Such declarations mirror the Antichrist's prophesied ambition to exalt himself above all gods. Similarly, the Dead Sea Scrolls, unearthed near Qumran, reference a son of darkness destined to rise before the Messiah. These texts add depth to the Judeo-Christian eschatology, suggesting that the concept of an ultimate adversary predates the New Testament. Could these ancient writings hold clues to understanding the Antichrist's origins? Even beyond the Middle East, echoes of this archetype appear. Ancient Rome's emperors demanded worship, with Nero and Domitian particularly vilified by early Christians. In the East, the Hindu concept of Kalki, the destroyer of evil, presents a parallel narrative, a figure bringing destruction before the renewal of the world. Could these global myths point to a shared human preoccupation with end-time adversaries? Science fiction often serves as a playground for our deepest fears and wildest speculations. In this genre, the Antichrist takes on futuristic forms that challenge traditional interpretations. For example, movies like Ex Machina and I, Robot explore the idea of AI surpassing humanity in intellect and morality. echoing fears of an Antichrist who might emerge as a synthetic savior. What if the Antichrist isn't born but built? Could a superintelligent AI, devoid of human empathy but claiming to solve all our problems, fulfill this role? Consider also the concept of global connectivity. In the Black Mirror episode, Hated in the Nation, a surveillance system becomes a tool for mass manipulation. If such technology exists today, imagine its potential in the hands of a leader who demands absolute allegiance. What if the Antichrist doesn't come with horns, but with Wi-Fi and satellite uplinks? These scenarios force us to confront an unsettling question. Is humanity unwittingly constructing the very framework that could empower an Antichrist-like figure? The idea of a malevolent figure rising to challenge divine order isn't exclusive to Christianity. Across cultures, similar myths emerge, suggesting a universal archetype embedded in the human psyche. In Islamic eschatology, the Dajjal is a one-eyed deceiver who performs miracles to mislead the faithful. His arrival is seen as a precursor to the final judgment. In Norse mythology, Loki, a trickster god, orchestrates chaos and betrayal before Ragnarok, the end of the world. Meanwhile, the Aztecs believed in Tezcatlipoca, a god who brought destruction and renewal in equal measure. What's fascinating is how these stories often align. Many cultures describe a figure who emerges during times of great upheaval, promises salvation, and ultimately leads humanity to ruin. Could this point to shared subconscious fears, or perhaps an ancient truth carried through time? The Antichrist has long been a staple of popular culture, serving as both a reflection of societal anxieties and a source of endless fascination. In The Omen, 1976, a child destined to bring about the apocalypse becomes a symbol of innocent-looking evil. In Good Omens, the character of the Antichrist is subverted, highlighting our complex relationship with this figure. Video games like Doom Eternal and Diablo also draw heavily from apocalyptic themes, portraying battles between good and evil that mirror biblical narratives. These representations keep the Antichrist relevant to new generations, blending ancient fears with modern storytelling. Even in music, artists like Marilyn Manson and Ghost have embraced the Antichrist aesthetic, challenging religious norms and exploring themes of rebellion. These cultural artifacts not only entertain, but provoke thought. Why does this figure continue to resonate so deeply? One lingering question remains: what if we've misunderstood the prophecy altogether? Some scholars suggest that the Antichrist isn't a person, a system, or even a moment in time. Instead, it might represent a recurring pattern: humanity's tendency to stray from truth and embrace deception. Could the Antichrist be within all of us, manifesting whenever greed, pride, or fear overtakes compassion, humility, and faith? If so, the battle against the Antichrist isn't just external, it's deeply personal. So, where does this leave us? If the Antichrist is indeed among us, would we recognize him? Or would his charisma, his promises, and his power blind us to his true nature? The mystery remains unsolved, but one thing is certain: the search for the Antichrist reveals more about humanity, our fears, our hopes, and our vulnerabilities than about the figure himself. What do you think? Could the Antichrist be a person, a system, or an idea? Share your thoughts below, and let's keep this conversation alive. After all, the truth may be closer than we think.